The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. Inside its silver walls, hundreds of different alien species worked together. The Galactic Council met here every month to talk about important matters. Today, something strange was on their minds. Kyle sat at his workstation, his green-scaled fingers moving across the holographic display. He was a Vorthok, and his people were known for being smart and careful. His yellow eyes studied the star maps that showed all the known territories in this part of the galaxy. Something was wrong with one particular system. "This makes no sense," Kale said to himself, his forked tongue flicking out as he thought. Commander Dex walked over on his 6 legs. The insectoid alien's compound eyes reflected the blue light from the screen. His people, the hive minds, were excellent at military planning. They had conquered 12 systems in the past 50 years. "What troubles you, intelligence officer?" "Kale?" Dex asked in his clicking voice. Kale pointed at the display. "Look at this system, the third planet from the star. The locals call it Earth." Dex studied the information. His antennae twitched as he read. "Interesting. Water world, good atmosphere, many resources. The inhabitants are called humans, yes? Correct. But look at this data more carefully. The screen showed Earth's position in space. It was perfectly placed along 3 major trade routes. Ships had to pass near it to travel between the core worlds and the outer colonies. Any military force that controlled Earth could watch all the traffic and charge fees to passing ships. The location is very valuable, Dex agreed. Perfect for controlling trade. And look at the resources, Kale continued. Clean water, good. Soil for growing food, many different metals, and something they call oil that burns very well. The planet could support billions of beings. Dex's wings buzzed softly, which meant he was thinking hard. So why has no one claimed it? This was exactly what bothered Kale. In the 400 years since the Galactic Council formed, every good planet had been taken by someone. The strong species took the best worlds. The weak species got whatever was left over. But Earth remained independent. Nira approached them, her crystal body making beautiful sounds as she moved. The Zelthians were known for their wisdom and their ability to see patterns that others missed. Her blue light pulsed gently as she spoke. "You are studying the human world," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Kale replied. "Something is not right about it." Nira's light changed to a deeper blue, which meant she was curious. "Show me what you have found." Kyle brought up more information. "Look at their defensive systems." The screen showed space around Earth. There were no battle stations. No weapon platforms floating in orbit, no giant ships patrolling the area, just a few small satellites and some civilian traffic moving back and forth. "Where are their defenses?" Dex asked, his voice rising in surprise. "That is exactly the problem," Kale said. "There are none. No weapons in space, no force fields, nothing. Just the planet sitting there completely open." Nira's crystal form grew brighter. "Yet no one has attacked them." "In 400 years, Kale confirmed. The Gorlak Empire expanded right past them 20 years ago. The Bloodclaw Raiders have passed through their system 6 times. The Void Hunters tested dozens of worlds in that area. But none of them even tried to take Earth." Commander Dex began pacing, his claws clicking on the metal floor. His military mind was working hard. "Perhaps the humans have hidden weapons. Secret technology we cannot detect." "I thought so too," Kale said. "But our best sensors show nothing. No energy readings that suggest powerful weapons. No unusual materials. Their technology seems to be about 200 years behind most of the galaxy. What about their ships? Nira asked. Kale pulled up more data. They have some spacecraft, but nothing impressive. Small vessels for exploring and trading. No warships that we can identify. Certainly nothing that could fight off a real invasion force. The three aliens stood in silence for a moment. Around them, other council members worked on their own problems, but none seemed as puzzling as this one. There must be something we are missing, Dex said finally. No species survives this long without defenses unless they have something to protect them. Or unless, Nira said slowly, other species choose not to attack them. But why? Kyle asked. What could make every aggressive species in the galaxy decide to leave one small planet alone? Far away from the space station, on the surface of Earth, two humans sat in a quiet office. Minho looked out the window at the city below. People walked on the streets going about their normal lives. Children played in parks. Nothing seemed unusual or threatening. The long-range sensors picked up something, Huna said from her desk. Her fingers moved quickly across her computer keyboard. A scout ship, maybe 3 light years out. Heading this way. Minho nodded, but did not seem worried. First contact protocol? Probably. The energy signature matches Vorthak technology. They are usually peaceful, just curious about other species. Good. Send the standard welcome message. If they get closer, let them know we are friendly. Huna smiled. Should I mention the invitation? Of course. Any species that wants to visit Earth peacefully is welcome. You know our policy. Back on the space station, Kyle was preparing his report for the full Galactic Council. He had spent hours checking and double-checking his information, but the facts remained the same. Earth was undefended, valuable, and completely ignored by every aggressive species in the galaxy. Council members, Kyle said as he stood before the Great Assembly. Representatives from 50 different worlds looked down at him from their seats. I wish to propose an investigation mission. The council leader, an ancient being whose species was so old that no one remembered their original name, spoke in a voice like distant thunder. State your purpose, intelligence officer. The human homeworld presents an unusual situation. Despite having no apparent defenses and being rich in resources, no one has attempted to conquer it. I believe they may possess secret technology that could be valuable to the Council. Murmurs filled the Great Hall. Secret technology was always interesting to the member species. What do you propose? The Council leader asked. A small reconnaissance mission. We observe their world, make contact if necessary, and discover their secret. If they have advanced weapons, we could learn from them. If they have other defenses, we should understand them. Commander Dex stepped forward. I support this mission. From a military perspective, we need to understand how they have survived. Nira's crystal form chimed softly. I also support it, but I suggest we approach peacefully. The humans may be more willing to share their secrets if we do not threaten them. The council leader considered their words. Around the hall, other representatives whispered to each other in dozens of different languages. Very well, the ancient being said at last. A small investigation team will visit the human world. Learn their secret, but do no harm unless they prove hostile. As the council meeting ended, Kale felt excited and nervous. Soon he would have answers to questions that had puzzled him for months. What made Earth so special? What protected the humans when they seemed to have no protection at all? He did not know that the answer would change everything he thought he knew about strength, power, and survival in the galaxy. The truth about Earth's defenses was more terrifying than any weapon he could imagine. The small alien scout ship moved through space toward the solar system. Kyle sat in the pilot's seat, checking his instruments for the 100th time. Behind him, Nira's crystal form glowed softly in the dim light, while Commander Dex studied tactical displays with his compound eyes. "We are now 3 light-years from their system," Kale announced. "Beginning deep scan." The ship's sensors reached out, looking for any signs of hidden defenses or unusual technology. For several minutes, they waited as the computer processed the information. "Scan complete," the ship's voice said. "No hidden installations detected, no cloaked vessels, no unusual energy readings." Dex's antennae twitched with frustration. They must have something. No species survives this long with nothing. On Earth, Hyuna sat at her monitoring station deep underground. The room was quiet except for the soft humming of computers. Screens showed the empty space around Earth, tracking every satellite and piece of space debris. "There it is," she said, pointing at a small dot on her screen. "The alien ship we detected earlier? They are scanning us." Do-hyun walked into the room, carrying a cup of coffee. He was Earth's first contact ambassador, though he had never actually met aliens before. He was a calm man who spoke many languages and understood how different cultures worked. "What do we know about them?" he asked. "Vorthak technology, just like we thought. 3 life forms on board. They seem to be just looking around, not preparing to attack." Do-hyun nodded. "Send them a message. Use the standard first contact protocol. Hyuna's..." Fingers moved across her keyboard. A message went out toward the alien ship, traveling at the speed of light. It would take 3 years to reach them, but both sides had faster-than-light communication systems. The message was simple. "Greetings, peaceful travelers. This is Earth Communication Control. We welcome all beings who come in peace. If you wish to visit, please respond." On the alien ship, Kale almost fell out of his chair when the message appeared on his screen. "They detected us," he said, his voice full of surprise. "Of course they detected us," Dex replied. "Any species with space travel has basic sensors." "No, you do not understand. They detected us 3 light-years away, and they already sent a welcoming message. Look at this." Nira drifted over to read the message. Her blue light pulsed faster as she thought. "Interesting. Most species either hide when they detect unknown ships, or they send warnings to stay away." "And look at the language," Kale added. "They wrote it in perfect galactic standard. They know exactly who we are." Commander Dex studied the tactical situation. "This could be a trap. They might be trying to lure us closer so they can capture us. Or," Nira said softly, "they might actually be peaceful." Kyle sent a response. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We come in peace to learn about your world." The reply came back almost immediately. "You are welcome to visit Earth. We can arrange meetings with our leaders and give you a tour of our world. We have prepared guest facilities for many different types of beings." The 3 aliens looked at each other in amazement. "Guest facilities?" Dex asked. "They have prepared places for aliens to stay?" "How many different species have visited them?" Nira wondered. Kale checked his records. "According to our files, no council member has ever made official contact with Earth before." On Earth, Do-hyun was preparing for the most important meeting in human history. He sat with Sumin, who worked as a military liaison. though Earth's military was very different from what other species might expect. "What do we know about Vorthak culture?" Do-hyun asked. "They value intelligence and careful thinking," Sumin replied, reading from her tablet. "They do not make quick decisions. They like to study problems from many angles before acting." "Good. That fits our approach perfectly." Do-hyun looked at the message from the aliens. "They want to learn about our world. What should we show them? The usual tour. The cities, the farms, the schools. Let them see how we live." "What about the question everyone is asking?" Sumin knew exactly what he meant. "About our defenses? We tell them the truth. We do not have traditional military defenses because we have never needed them." "They will find that hard to believe. Then we show them until they understand." 3 days later, the alien scout ship entered Earth's solar system. Kale was amazed by what he saw. The system was busy with activity, but it was all peaceful. Cargo ships moved between the planets, carrying goods and people. Research stations orbited the outer planets, studying the moons and asteroids. "Look at all this traffic," he said. "No escort ships, no patrol vessels checking identity. They are not afraid of anyone." A human ship approached them. It was small and unarmed, with large windows and comfortable seats inside. Do-hyun's voice came through their communication system. "Welcome to our solar system. I am Do-hyun, Earth's first contact ambassador. May I come aboard your ship, or would you prefer to visit ours?" Dex was immediately suspicious. "He wants to board our ship?" "That could be an attack. Or," Nira said, "it could be exactly what he says it is. A diplomatic meeting." Kyle made the decision. "We will visit your ship, Ambassador Do-hyun. We appreciate your welcome." The alien ship docked with the human vessel. When the airlock opened, Do-hyun stepped through with a smile. He was a normal-looking human, wearing simple clothes and carrying no weapons. "Welcome," he said. "I hope your journey was comfortable." The 3 aliens studied him carefully. He showed no signs of fear, even though he was facing creatures that could easily kill him. His body language was relaxed and friendly. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," Kyle said. "We are here to learn about your world, and you are very welcome. We have prepared a place for you to stay while you visit. Our xenobiology specialist, Jaiwan, has made sure the environment will be comfortable for all your species." "Commander," Dex could not hide his confusion. "You prepared for us? But you did not know we were coming until a few days ago." Do-hyun laughed. "We have been ready for first contact for many years. We always hoped someone would visit us peacefully." "You hoped?" Nira asked. "Most species fear first contact." "Why would we fear it? Meeting new people is one of the best things that can happen. Every new species teaches us something new about the universe." As their ship approached Earth, the aliens saw something that confused them even more. The space around the planet was full of activity, but none of it was military. Civilian ships moved freely between orbital stations. Tourist vessels carried people to see the moon. Research craft studied the planets. "Weather, where are your defense platforms?" Dex asked. "Defense platforms?" Do-hyun looked genuinely confused. "What would we defend against?" "Other species. Hostile aliens, pirates, invaders." "Oh, we have never had any problems with hostile visitors. Everyone who comes here is peaceful." Kale's mind was working hard. "But surely you have military forces on the planet." "We have emergency services, if that is what you mean. People who help during natural disasters or accidents, but we do not have armies like some worlds do. The alien ship landed at a spaceport outside a large city. As they walked down the ramp, the aliens saw humans going about their daily lives. No one seemed worried about the alien visitors. Children pointed at them with excitement, and adults waved in a friendly way. "This is impossible," Dex whispered to his companions. "No species is this trusting." Ji-Wan met them at the landing pad. She was a young woman who studied alien life forms, and she was very excited to meet real aliens. "This is amazing," she said. "I have studied your species in our databases, but seeing you in person is much better. Kyle, your scales are beautiful. Nira, I love how your crystal structure changes color. And Commander Dex, your compound eyes must let you see so many things we cannot." The aliens were not used to this kind of enthusiasm. Most species they met were either afraid or trying to impress them with military strength. As they rode through the city, Kale watched everything carefully. The buildings were tall and beautiful, but not built like fortresses. The people in the streets looked happy and relaxed. There were no soldiers, no weapons, no signs of military preparation. "Your city is very peaceful," he said to Do-Yun. "Most cities are peaceful when people work together well," Do-Yun replied. "We have learned that cooperation works better than conflict." "But what if someone attacks you? Why would they attack us? We have not done anything to hurt anyone." "Commander." Dex was becoming more nervous with each passing minute. In his experience, this kind of openness meant one of two things. The humans were incredibly naive, or they were so confident in their hidden power that they did not need to show it. Neither option made him comfortable. The hotel where the aliens stayed was unlike anything they had ever seen. The rooms were designed to accommodate dozens of different body types and atmospheric needs. Kyle's room had a warm, humid environment perfect for his reptilian nature. Nira's space had special lighting that made her crystal form sparkle beautifully. Dex found his room had platforms at different heights, just like the hive structures his people preferred. "They really did prepare for us," Nira said as they met for breakfast the next morning. "But how could they know what we needed?" "They have studied many species," Kale replied, though he was still puzzled. "But why go to so much trouble for visitors they had never met?" Tae-Hyung arrived to take them on their tour. He was a cheerful man who worked as Earth's cultural attaché. His job was to help aliens understand human culture and help humans understand alien visitors. "Good morning," he said with a bright smile. "I hope you slept well. Today we will see some of the most interesting parts of our world." They started at a school where human children were learning. The aliens watched through a window as young humans practiced mathematics, studied history, and learned about different planets in the galaxy. "Your children learn about alien worlds?" Commander Dex asked. "Of course," Tae-Hyung replied. "We want them to understand that the universe is full of different kinds of people. The more they know, the better they can work with others when they grow up." One little girl noticed the aliens through the window. Instead of being afraid, she waved at them excitedly. Soon the whole class was looking at them with curiosity and joy. "Can we meet them?" the children asked their teacher. The teacher looked at Tae-Hyung, who nodded. "Would you like to meet some young humans?" he asked the aliens. "They love learning about other species." For the next hour, the aliens answered questions from eager children. The young humans wanted to know everything: what their home planets looked like, what they ate, how they traveled through space, whether they had children of their own. Nira was particularly touched when a boy asked if her crystal form ever got lonely. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But meeting new friends like you makes me feel much better." As they left the school, Dex was quiet and thoughtful. "Those children showed no fear of us at all," he said. "Why would they be afraid?" Taehyung asked, genuinely confused. "You are visitors, not enemies. But we are aliens. We look different. We could be dangerous." "Could you be dangerous?" Dex hesitated. "Well, no. We came in peace." "Then there is nothing to fear." Their next stop was a massive farm managed by Yoonji. The agricultural system stretched as far as they could see, with automated machines tending to crops while humans supervised the work. "This farm feeds millions of people," Yoonji explained, proudly. "We grow food for our cities and trade with other worlds in our system." Kyle studied the operation carefully. "Your machines are very advanced, but they could easily be converted to military use." Yoonji looked shocked at the suggestion. "Why would we want to do that? These machines help us feed people. That is much more important than fighting." "But surely, you have considered it, in case of emergency." "What kind of emergency would require us to turn farming equipment into weapons?" Kyle could not answer. In his mind, there were always threats to prepare for, enemies to watch out for, defenses to maintain. But the humans seemed to live without such worries. They visited a spaceport next, where Young-ho managed civilian space traffic. Ships came and went constantly, carrying people and cargo to the moon, to Mars, and to the asteroid mines. "You have no military checkpoints," Nira observed. "No security screening for the ships." "Why would we need that?" Young-ho asked. "These are all peaceful traders and travelers." "But how do you know they are peaceful?" "Because only peaceful people come here." "Why would hostile people want to visit a planet full of peaceful people?" Commander Dex was becoming more uncomfortable by the hour. "But what if they were not peaceful? What if someone came here with bad intentions? Then we would talk to them and try to understand what was wrong. Usually people who act hostile are afraid or angry about something. We would help them feel better." And if talking did not work, Young-ho looked genuinely puzzled by the question. "Why would talking not work? Everyone wants to be understood and cared for. When you give people what they need, they stop being hostile." That evening, the aliens had dinner with several human leaders. Sumin was there, along with officials from various Earth departments. The conversation was relaxed and friendly. But the aliens were growing more confused. "We need to ask you something," Kale said finally. "Where is your military?" The humans looked at each other uncertainly. "What do you mean by military?" asked one official. "Your armed forces, your weapons, your defenses against invasion." "Oh," Suman said, understanding at last. "We do not have a military like other worlds do. We have never needed one." "Never needed one?" Dex's voice rose in disbelief. "Every species in the galaxy has military forces." "Why?" asked another human. "What do you use yours for?" "To defend against attacks, to protect our territory, to fight wars." "But who attacks you?" "Other species. Hostile aliens, pirates, rival empires." The humans looked genuinely sad at this news. "That sounds terrible," Suman said. "Living in fear all the time, having to prepare for war. We are very sorry that you have to deal with such problems." "You are sorry for us?" Nira asked, her crystal form flickering with confusion. "Of course. Everyone deserves to live in peace. It must be very hard to always worry about enemies." After dinner, the three aliens walked through the city streets. Humans nodded politely as they passed. and some stopped to ask friendly questions about their home worlds. There were no guards, no weapons checks, no signs of military presence anywhere. "This is not normal," Dex said quietly. "No species lives like this." "Maybe," Kale replied. "No species has been able to live like this before." "What do you mean?" "Think about it. What if they solved the problem that every other species still struggles with? What if they found a way to live without violence? Impossible. Violence is natural. All species have it." "Do they?" Nira asked softly. "Look around you. Do you see any violence here?" They watched human children playing in a park. When disagreements arose, the children talked through their problems with adult help. No one fought. No one bullied others. Everyone seemed to work together naturally. "Their children do not fight," Kale observed. "Their adults do not carry weapons," Nira added. "Their government officials do not surround themselves with guards," Dex concluded reluctantly. They spent several more days exploring Earth. They visited museums, libraries, research centers, and cultural sites. Everywhere they went, they found the same thing: humans living peacefully together, working together, helping each other solve problems without violence. But the more they saw, the more nervous Commander Dex became. His military mind could not accept what he was witnessing. "This cannot be real," he told his companions on their last night. "No species is this peaceful. They must be hiding something." "What could they be hiding?" Cal asked. "We have scanned everything with our most advanced sensors. We have visited every type of facility they have. We have talked to hundreds of their people. I do not know. But there must be something. Species do not survive this long in a dangerous galaxy without defenses." "Perhaps," Nira said thoughtfully, "the galaxy is only dangerous for species who believe it is dangerous." "What does that mean?" "Maybe the reason no one attacks Earth is not because humans have hidden weapons. Maybe it is because humans have something else entirely." "Like what?" "I do not know yet, but I intend to find out." As they prepared to leave Earth, Tae-hyung gave them a gift: a collection of human art, music, and literature from many different cultures. "This is for you to remember your visit," he said, "and to help you understand how we think." "Thank you," Kyle said. "Your people have been very kind to us." "Will you tell other species about us?" Tae-hyung asked. "Of course. The Galactic Council will want to know what we learned." "Good. Maybe more people will come to visit. We would like to make friends with everyone." As their ship lifted off from Earth, the three aliens looked down at the peaceful planet. Cities glowed softly in the darkness, connected by streams of light from transportation systems. No orbital weapons platforms, no defense shields, no patrol fleets, just a quiet world full of beings who had somehow learned to live without fear. "I still do not understand it," Dex said. "Neither do I," Kale admitted. "But I am beginning to think that our failure to understand is exactly the point." "How so?" "Maybe the reason Earth is safe is not because of what they have, but because of what they do not have. They do not have fear, so they do not create enemies. They do not have weapons, so others do not feel threatened. They do not have military forces, so no one feels the need to compete with them." "That is too simple." "Is it? Or is it so simple that the rest of us never thought of it?" As they traveled back toward Nexus Prime, each alien was lost in thought. They had come looking for hidden weapons or secret technology. Instead, they had found something much more puzzling: a species that had apparently evolved beyond the need for such things. The question now was whether the rest of the galaxy was ready to hear that such evolution was possible. Back on Nexus Prime, Kale sat in his office staring at his report. He had written it 3 times, and each version sounded more unbelievable than the last. How could he tell the Galactic Council that humans had no defenses because they had simply chosen not to need them? Commander Dex paced nervously in the hallway outside. His compound eyes kept scanning for threats that were not there, a habit that had kept his people alive for thousands of years. But Earth had shaken his understanding of survival. "The data makes no sense," Dex said when Nira arrived for their meeting. "A species cannot survive without strength." "Perhaps," Nira replied, her crystal form pulsing thoughtfully. "They have strength, just not the kind we recognize." Before Kale could present his findings to the Council, Nira made a request that surprised both her companions. "I want to access their historical database. The humans offered to share their complete history with us." "Why?" Kale asked. "Because I want to understand how they became what they are. No species starts peaceful. Evolution requires struggle, competition, survival of the strongest." Dex nodded agreement. "Every species fights for resources, territory, mates. It is the foundation of life." They contacted Earth and spoke with Sajin, a historian who specialized in human cultural development. She was a quiet woman who loved studying how societies changed over time. "You want to see our complete history?" Sajin asked, smiling. "Most species only want to know about our current technology or culture." "We want to understand how you developed your peaceful nature," Nira explained. "Oh, we were not always peaceful. Far from it. Let me show you." Over the next several days, the aliens studied thousands of years of human history. What they found was disturbing. Humans had been incredibly violent for most of their existence. Wars that killed millions, weapons that could destroy entire cities, conflicts that lasted for generations. "This is more like it," Dex said, studying records of ancient battles. "They were proper warriors once, but as they continued reading, something strange became apparent. Around the late 20th and early 21st centuries, something changed. Wars became smaller and less frequent. International cooperation increased. Violence declined steadily." "What happened here?" Kale asked Sajin during one of their conversations. "Your species was very aggressive, then suddenly became peaceful." "It was not sudden," Sajin explained. "It took about 200 years. We slowly learned that violence was not working anymore." "What do you mean, not working?" "Our weapons became too powerful. If we kept fighting with them, we would destroy ourselves. So we had to learn new ways to solve problems." "But how?" "Every species struggles with violence. It is built into our nature." Sajin paused, choosing her words carefully. "We learned to change our nature." The aliens exchanged worried glances. Changing nature was not something most species could do, even if they wanted to. They continued their research and discovered records of something humans called the Great Transition. It was a period of about 50 years when human society completely reorganized itself around cooperation instead of competition. During their investigation, they met Minjay, who coordinated Earth's emergency response systems. She was a calm woman who had spent her career helping people during disasters. "Your emergency systems are impressive," Kale told her. "When disaster strikes, your whole planet responds." "Of course," Minjay said. "When people need help, you help them. It is very simple. But what about the cost? Emergency response is expensive. not as expensive as letting people suffer. When someone is hurt, everyone works together to make them better. When a city is damaged, other cities send help. When a country has problems, other countries share resources. Dex found this hard to understand. But what do they get in return? Why help if there is no benefit? There is always benefit. When we help others, they help us when we need it. But more than that, helping makes everyone feel good. Humans are happier when they work together. The aliens studied Earth's response to natural disasters over the past century. Every time something bad happened, earthquakes, floods, storms, the entire planet mobilized to help. Resources flowed from rich areas to damaged areas without question. People from different countries worked together as if they were family. This level of cooperation is unusual, Nira observed. Is it? Minje asked. How do your species handle disasters? Each nation or region handles its own problems, Dex replied. Sometimes allies help, but usually in exchange for favors or payment. Minje looked sad. That sounds very lonely and inefficient. Problems are always easier to solve when everyone helps. They met Hiram next, a psychologist who worked with children. She explained how young humans learn to resolve conflicts without violence. We teach them from a very early age, she said. When children have disagreements, we help them talk through the problem. We show them how to understand other people's feelings. We practice solutions that make everyone happy. But what if talking does not work? Dex asked. It always works if you do it right. The key is understanding what the other person really needs. Most conflicts happen because people want something they are not getting. Love, respect, security, food, shelter. When you give them what they need, they stop fighting. The aliens watched human children playing together. When disputes arose, the children naturally turned to adults for help in finding solutions. No one hit anyone else. No one took toys by force. Everyone seemed to know how to compromise and share. Your children are trained not to be violent, Kyle observed. They are trained to be happy, Hiram corrected. Violence makes people unhappy. Cooperation makes them happy. Children learn quickly which one feels better. But what about natural aggression? All species have aggressive instincts. Humans do too, but we learn to channel those instincts into useful activities. Sports, art, exploration, problem-solving. When you give aggressive energy a good purpose, it stops being destructive. That evening, the aliens had a private conversation about what they were learning. They have eliminated violence from their species, Nira said quietly. Not eliminated, Kale corrected. Controlled, redirected, made it unnecessary. The question is how, Dex said, and whether what they did could work for other species. As if reading his thoughts, Nira's crystal form darkened. There is something they are not telling us. No species changes this much just by deciding to be different. The next day, they pushed harder for answers. During a meeting with government officials, Kale asked the question directly. How did your species actually change from violent to peaceful? What was the process? The officials looked at each other uncertainly. Finally, one of them spoke. It was not easy. We had to make some difficult choices. What kind of choices? We had to decide what was more important, individual freedom or collective peace, traditional culture or effective cooperation, old ways of thinking or new solutions. And you chose peace over freedom? We chose to redefine freedom. True freedom is not the right to hurt others. It is the right to live without fear, to grow and learn and explore, to be happy and healthy. Commander Dex leaned forward. But what about people who disagreed? What about humans who wanted to keep the old violent ways? A long silence fell over the room. The humans looked uncomfortable. That is a complex question, one official said finally. We had to find ways to help everyone, understand the benefits of cooperation. Help them understand how? Through education, through therapy, through showing them better ways to live. And if those methods did not work? Another long silence. They always worked, the official said quietly. We made sure of that. Something in his tone made all three aliens feel cold. They thanked their hosts and returned to their quarters, but none of them could sleep that night. Did you notice, Nira asked, how they avoided answering the question about people who disagreed? Yes, Kale replied. And did you notice how they said the methods always worked? That is impossible, Dex said. No method works on everyone. There are always some individuals who refuse to cooperate. Unless, Kale said slowly, they found a way to make refusal impossible. The next morning, they tried a different approach. Instead of asking government officials, they tried to find ordinary humans who remembered the Great Transition. Most people they met were too young, but they finally found an elderly man who had lived through the change. His name was Minho, and he worked in what humans called deep space monitoring. He was friendly, but seemed careful about what he said. The transition was a difficult time, he admitted. Many people were afraid of change. What happened to the people who refused to change? Nira asked directly. Minho was quiet for a long time. Everyone changed eventually, he said. It just took some people longer to understand. But surely some people never changed. No, Minho said firmly. Everyone changed. They had to. Had to? Minho realized he had said too much. I mean, they had to because the old ways were not working anymore. Violence was becoming too dangerous. People chose to change. All of them chose? Yes, all of them. But there was something in his eyes that suggested the story was more complicated than he was saying. Something that made the aliens wonder if humans had secrets that went much deeper than anyone suspected. That night, Kyle could not sleep. Something about Minho's careful words bothered him. He decided to do what he did best: investigate. Using his security clearance, he accessed Earth's public information networks and began searching for anything unusual in recent human history. Most of the records were exactly what the humans had shown them: peaceful cooperation, scientific advancement, cultural exchange. But buried in routine communication logs, he found something strange. 3 years ago, there had been increased activity in Earth's deep space communication systems. Messages had been sent to something called Kepler Colony at an urgent frequency. Then suddenly the messages stopped. Kale woke his companions. I found something, he told them quietly. There was an incident 3 years ago involving a place called Kepler Colony. Nira's crystal form brightened with interest. What kind of incident? I am not sure yet. But there was a lot of emergency communication. Then complete silence. They spent the next day trying to find more information. The humans they asked seemed genuinely confused by their questions. Kepler Colony, Taehyung said when they asked him. Oh yes, that was resolved years ago. Why do you ask? Resolved how? I'm not really sure of the details. It was handled by our deep space operations people. Wu Jin would know more about it. They found Wu Jin at Earth's Deep Space Operations Center. He was a quiet man who managed communication with human settlements on distant worlds. When they asked, About Kepler Colony, his expression became very serious. That was a difficult situation, he said carefully, but it was handled appropriately. What exactly happened? Kale pressed. Wu Jin hesitated. There was a threat to the colony, an external threat. But our people resolved it peacefully. What kind of external threat? Hostile aliens, a species called the Ravagers. They had a reputation for attacking peaceful settlements. The three visitors felt their blood grow cold. They knew about the Ravagers. Every species in the galaxy knew about them. They were one of the most violent and dangerous groups in known space. The Ravagers attacked your colony? Dex asked, his military instincts immediately alert. They threatened it. But as I said, the situation was resolved. How? Was it resolved? Peacefully. No one was hurt. This was impossible. The Ravagers did not resolve anything peacefully. They were known for destroying settlements completely, taking resources and leaving no survivors. Can we speak to people from the colony? Nira asked. Of course. Many of them have returned to Earth. Others are still rebuilding their community on Kepler. Rebuilding? I thought you said no one was hurt. No one was hurt, Wu Jin confirmed. But there was some disruption to their normal life during the incident. That evening, the aliens managed to contact Su-Yung, who worked in interstellar communications. She had been responsible for coordinating messages during the Kepler incident. It was a very busy time, she admitted. We had to coordinate with many different departments to handle the situation. What departments? Kyle asked. Deep space operations, colonial affairs, the ethics committee, and some specialized teams I had not worked with before. Ethics committee. Why would an ethics committee be involved in defending a colony? Su-Yung looked uncomfortable. I do not really know the details. I just handled the communications. Can we see the communication logs? Most of them are classified, but I can show you some of the routine reports. The routine reports were revealing, but not in the way the aliens expected. They showed a timeline of events that made no sense. Day 1. Ravager fleet detected approaching Kepler colony. Population 50,000. Fleet consists of 200 warships. Day 2. Colonial evacuation procedures initiated. Emergency response teams dispatched. Day 3. First contact with Ravager forces. Communication attempts ongoing. Day 4. Breakthrough in negotiations. Ravager leadership agrees to meeting. Day 5. Ravager threat neutralized, colony safe. Implementing rehabilitation protocols. Wait, Commander Dex said, studying the timeline. The Ravagers went from threatening the colony to being neutralized in 4 days? Yes, Su-Yung replied. Our negotiation teams are very good at their job. But the Ravagers do not negotiate. They attack and destroy. That is what they do. Well, apparently they do negotiate when the situation is handled correctly. Kyle found another strange entry in the logs. All Ravager personnel transferred to rehabilitation facilities. Colony restoration beginning. Rehabilitation facilities? He asked. Yes. The Ravagers needed help adjusting to peaceful life. We provided appropriate support. The aliens looked at each other with growing alarm. Species like the Ravagers could not be rehabilitated. They were violently aggressive by nature, by culture, by choice. Where are these rehabilitation facilities? Nira asked. I am not sure. That would be handled by a different department. They tried to find more information, but kept running into polite redirects. Everyone they asked referred them to someone else, and that person referred them to yet another department. Finally, they decided to try a direct approach. They asked to visit one of the rehabilitation facilities. That might be difficult to arrange, Wu Jin said when they made the request. The facilities are specialized for helping former Ravagers adjust. Visitors might disrupt their progress. We just want to see how the process works, Kale insisted. It could be valuable for other species dealing with similar problems. After much discussion, the humans agreed to let them meet with Jae-hyun, who chaired the ethics committee that had been involved in the Kepler situation. Jae-hyun was an older man with kind eyes and a gentle manner, but when they met him, the aliens sensed something underneath his peaceful exterior. Something that made them nervous without understanding why. The Kepler incident was resolved successfully, he told them. All parties involved are now living peacefully. All parties? Dex asked. Including the Ravagers? Especially the Ravagers. They are much happier now. Happier? Yes. Violence and aggression make beings miserable, even when they think those behaviors are natural. When you help them find better ways to live, they become much more content. But how do you help a species like the Ravagers become peaceful? They have been violent for thousands of years. Jae-hyun smiled, but his eyes remained serious. Every species can learn to be better than they are. Sometimes they just need the right kind of education. What kind of education? The kind that helps them understand their true nature. Underneath all the violence and aggression, every being wants to be loved and to feel safe. When you address those basic needs, the violent behavior becomes unnecessary. And if beings refuse this education, they do not refuse it once they understand the benefits. But surely some individuals resist. Resistance usually comes from fear or misunderstanding. When you eliminate the fear and correct the misunderstanding, resistance disappears naturally. The aliens pressed him for details about the process, but Jae-hyun remained vague. The important thing is that it works, he said. Former enemies become friends. Violent beings become peaceful. Everyone benefits. That evening, Nira made a disturbing observation. I have been analyzing the human language patterns during our conversations about Kepler. What did you find? Kale asked. They are being very careful about their word choices. They never use words like force or compel or change. They always say things like help and education and understanding. What do you think that means? I think it means they are describing something very unpleasant in very pleasant terms. Commander Dex had been running calculations in his head. A Ravager fleet with 200 warships does not just disappear in 4 days, even if somehow the humans defeated them in battle. There would be debris, survivor reports, evidence of the conflict. Unless there was no battle, Kyle said slowly. Then what happened to them? That, Nira said, her crystal form darkening to a deep blue, is exactly what we need to find out. They made one more attempt to get answers. Using Kale's intelligence training, they accessed deeper levels of Earth's information networks. What they found there changed everything. Buried in classified medical records, they discovered references to something called neural pattern adjustment therapy. The records mentioned successful treatment of pathological aggression and complete personality reconstruction for violent individuals. Most disturbing of all, they found a single line in a deleted file. Ravager Rehabilitation Program, 100%. Success rate, 47,000 subjects processed. 0 reversions to violent behavior. 47,000 subjects. The entire Ravager fleet had not been destroyed or driven away. Every single Ravager had been processed through something humans called rehabilitation. They did not defeat the Ravagers, Kyle whispered to his companions. They changed them. Completely. Turned them into different beings. Is that even possible? Dex asked. Apparently it is, Nira replied, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and terror. And if it is possible, then we finally understand why no one attacks Earth. Because anyone violent enough to attack Earth will not be violent much longer. Kale finished. They sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the truth about humanity's defenses. Earth was not unprotected. It had the most terrifying defense system in the galaxy, the ability to fundamentally change anyone who threatened them. No wonder no species had ever successfully attacked Earth. Not because they could not win the battle, but because winning would mean ceasing to exist as the same. The next morning, the three aliens requested an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. They had spent the entire night discussing what they had discovered, and they needed answers. Junho arrived first. He was the Director of Interstellar Ethics, a title that had seemed meaningless when they first heard it. Now it carried a much more ominous weight. You wanted to speak with us, he said calmly, settling into his chair. I understand you have been researching the Kepler incident. We have, Kale said, trying to keep his voice steady. And we have some questions. I am sure you do. Please, ask whatever you need to know. Commander Dex leaned forward, his compound, eyes fixed on Junho. What did you do to the Ravagers? We helped them, Junho replied without hesitation. They were suffering from violent impulses that made them miserable. We provided treatment so they could live happier lives. Treatment? Yes. Psychological therapy, neural adjustment, cultural rehabilitation. A comprehensive program designed to address the root causes of aggressive behavior. Nira's crystal form was pulsing rapidly with agitation. You changed their minds. You altered their personalities. We helped them discover their true nature, Junho corrected gently. Violence is not natural. It is a learned behavior, usually based on fear, pain, or misunderstanding. When you address those underlying causes, beings naturally become more peaceful. But they are not the same beings they were before, Kale protested. Would you want them to be? The Ravagers were killers, destroyers, raiders. They hurt everyone they met, including themselves. Now they are teachers, builders, helpers. They contribute to society instead of destroying it. Which version is better? The aliens fell, silent. In terms of pure logic, Junho was right. A peaceful former Ravager was better for everyone than a violent current Ravager. But something about the process felt deeply wrong. Show us, Nira demanded. Show us one of these rehabilitated Ravagers. Junho nodded. I thought you might ask. Nayung administers our rehabilitation programs. She can explain the process better than I can. Nayung arrived an hour later, accompanied by someone who made all three aliens freeze in shock. He looked like a Ravager, the same tall, muscular build, the same distinctive bone ridges, the same dark skin marked with traditional scars. But his eyes were completely different. Ravagers had eyes like burning coals, filled with barely controlled rage. This being's eyes were calm, gentle, almost sad. This is Kyung Min, Nayung said. He was a Ravager commander 3 years ago. Now, he teaches children at our cultural exchange school. Kyung Min bowed politely to the aliens. I am honored to meet you. I hope your visit to our world has been pleasant. Commander Dex stared at him in disbelief. You were a Ravager? I was, Kyungmin replied, his voice heavy with regret. I commanded a battle fleet. I destroyed settlements, killed countless beings, caused tremendous suffering. I am deeply ashamed of my past actions, but you chose to attack the human colony. I thought I chose to, but I was not truly choosing. I was acting from programming that had been built into me from birth. Fear, anger, competitive aggression. These were the only emotions I knew how to feel. And now? Kyungmin smiled, and the expression looked strange on his scarred face. Now I understand compassion. I feel joy when I help others instead of hurt them. I experience peace instead of constant rage. For the first time in my life, I am truly happy. Nira studied him carefully with her advanced senses. Your brain patterns have been altered. Yes, Kyungmin agreed. The humans helped me repair damage that was done to my neural pathways during childhood. Ravager society conditioned us to suppress empathy and enhance aggression. The rehabilitation process reverses that conditioning. Were you given a choice in this treatment? I was offered a choice between remaining trapped in my violent nature or becoming free to experience the full range of emotion that all beings are capable of. What rational person would choose to remain trapped? Kyle felt increasingly uncomfortable. But you are not the same person you were before. Thank goodness for that, Kyungmin replied earnestly. The person I was before was a monster. I hurt innocents. I destroyed beautiful things. I lived in constant anger and fear. Why would anyone want to remain that way? Because that was who you were. No. That was what I had been made into by a sick society. This is who I really am, underneath all the conditioning and damage. After Kyungmin left to return to his teaching duties, the alien sat with Na-young and Junho in heavy silence. The process is completely voluntary, Na-young explained. We never force anyone to undergo rehabilitation. But what choice did the Ravagers really have? Dex asked. Submit to your treatment or be destroyed? They had the same choice everyone has, Junho replied. They could continue being violent and face the consequences of violence, or they could choose to become peaceful and enjoy the benefits of peace. And if they had chosen to remain violent, then they would have continued to be violent until they changed their minds. Where? In your rehabilitation facilities? Yes. We would have kept them safe and comfortable while we helped them understand the benefits of cooperation. For how long? As long as it took. Nira understood the implication immediately. You would have kept them imprisoned until they agreed to be changed. We would have kept them in a safe environment until they chose to be changed, Junho corrected. Most beings make that choice quite quickly once they understand what we are offering. And the ones who do not? Everyone does, eventually. When you remove the fear and anger that drive violent behavior, peaceful cooperation becomes the obviously superior choice. The aliens realized they were looking at something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that had not just conquered violence in themselves, but had developed the ability to eliminate violence in any species they encountered. How many other species have you done this to? Kale asked quietly. The Ravagers were the first external application of our methods, Na-young replied. We spent 2 centuries perfecting the process on our own species first. Your own species? Of course. How do you think humans became peaceful? We did not evolve that way naturally. We had to actively choose to change ourselves. The terrible truth finally became clear. Humans had not naturally evolved beyond violence. They had developed a way to force that evolution first on themselves, then on others. Every human alive has been through this process, Nira asked. Not the process itself, but the results of it. We eliminated violent tendencies from human genetics and culture over many generations. Children are born naturally peaceful now because we removed the capacity for pathological aggression from our gene pool. And you can do this to any species? Any species that chooses to be helped, Junho said firmly. We never impose our assistance on beings who do not want it. But you will keep offering until they accept. We will keep offering because everyone deserves the chance to be happy and peaceful. Commander Dex stood up abruptly, his wings buzzing with agitation. This is why no one attacks Earth. Not because you are strong enough to defend yourselves, but because you will change anyone who threatens you into someone who no longer wants to threaten you. Is that a bad thing? Na Young asked genuinely. Would you prefer that we kill attackers instead of healing them? But you are not healing them. You are turning them into different beings entirely. We are helping them become the best possible versions of themselves, according to your definition of what is best. According to any reasonable definition, Junho replied. Happy beings are better than miserable beings. Peaceful beings are better than violent beings. Cooperative beings are better than destructive beings. These are not matters of opinion. The aliens spent their last day on Earth walking through the cities, watching the humans go about their peaceful lives. Children played together without fighting. Adults worked together without conflict. Everyone seemed genuinely content. But now the aliens saw it differently. This was not natural peace. It was engineered peace. Every human they met was the product of generations of careful modification, designed to eliminate any capacity for significant violence. It is beautiful, Nira admitted as they watched children in a park, but it is also terrifying. Why terrifying? Kale asked. Because it means free will is negotiable. If humans can eliminate violence by changing how people think and feel, what else might they eliminate? Curiosity? Independence? The desire for privacy? They seem happy, Dex observed reluctantly. Yes, they do. But are they happy because they choose to be? Or because they have been made incapable of being anything else? As they prepared to leave Earth, Junho made them an offer that chilled them to their cores. Your species struggle with violence, just as humans once did. The Vorthak fight constant border wars. The hive minds expand through conquest. The Zelthians have civil conflicts over resource allocation. We could help all of you find peace. Help. Us how? Kale asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. The same way we helped ourselves and the Ravagers. We could eliminate the sources of conflict in your societies, remove the aggressive impulses that cause suffering, help your people discover the joy of pure cooperation. And if we refuse, then you continue to suffer as you always have, but the offer remains open. When your people grow tired of violence and war, we will be here to help. On their ship, traveling back to Nexus Prime, the aliens sat in trow,